That's just a little extract. Yeah, man can easily destroy himself if he does not know what he is on this earth for. Actually, they end up sometimes depressed. Have you seen men committing suicide? And it's because they feel like they're nothing. They have maybe a job and they get fired. They don't have a skill that they love, or if they have a skill, they invested in the wrong skill. And then this about 8-9 years ago, I was driving from North Carolina, Greenville, North Carolina. I was delivering medication all around North Carolina at night. This good friend of mine, his name was Ken, had given me a job just to hold on to, because I had graduated but I didn't like what I was doing, and I ended up quitting. And I took this job, and I remember at that period I was really thinking and pondering and wondering what to do. I knew I wanted to get into business. I knew I wanted to do something that I'm passionate about, and I knew what it was. I knew it was photography, video, anything media. I knew it was a sound company, and so I decided to buy cameras and equipment and all that, all the equipment and speaker systems. And that night, before I decided all that, I was living in a big house by myself and living paycheck to paycheck because the money was not enough. The house was expensive. I had roommates, but they had left, and I was very comfortable in that house, but I was living paycheck to paycheck. And that night at around 4 a.m. in the morning, maybe 3 a.m., I had finished delivering my stuff and I was rolling back to Raleigh. It's a very hilly place, beautiful place, Greenville, North Carolina. They're just mountains, you know. The drive is always a spiral of ups and downs. It was beautiful at night. Snow left over on top of trees, shaping themselves in a cone-like shape, and you know, snowflakes falling here and there, ice on the side of the rocky roads. The roads were rocky on the side because the roads were dug deep, so on the sides these rocks, and they were very icy. Beautiful night. When cars were driving, they would flash beautiful lights all around the place, and it was spectacular. And I was listening to one of the best speakers ever lived on this planet Earth, and I was listening to his book, The Secret, and this is Earl Nightingale. And in that audiobook, he said that only 5 out of 100 people might make it in this life in terms of having a wealthy lifestyle and being able to be totally independent financially and having freedom and health, you know, after 65 years. And he said a few people will drop out because of death and health, and some people, the majority of the people will end up in poverty at that older age because of just following how the world is going, because of just becoming followers and not pursuing their purpose. And that night I was like, man, I'm here driving. I'm around 30 years old at that time, and I'm like, I'm 30, man. I've been to college after college, changing things, not knowing what to do, job after job, trying businesses that I don't even like just because someone told me they are nice. And man, that night I had enough. I think that was really when I said enough is enough. And that night I decided to move out of the very comfortable house I was living in. It was expensive to live in it every month. And I had this van, and I decided, hey, I'll start living in a van because I'm a photographer, videographer, and I watched a lot of photographer guys living in vans, traveling, doing photography. And that's exactly what I did. And I cut off my house bill. And I saved up money and bought more equipment. And eventually, I ended up with a sound company and a photography company, which is also my filming company. Now all this became what we call today Banana Land Media. It's a company that takes care of everything, including promoting your business. That's why I'm wearing a Tap Tap Send t-shirt today. They pay me to promote them. So here we are, about 8 years later, my guys. Almost 10 years, I can say. And that night when I was driving down, I was really in this, I don't know what I can say. It was a God moment. Or, when you know you should be doing something, you know very well you should start something, you know very well you should jump, and not knowing whether the parachute will open up, you know very well. But I knew all along because I started reading Tony Robbins 20 years ago. My goodness, he's the one who actually corrupted me to become a businessman. I started reading Think Big by Ben Carson 20 years ago. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad 15 years ago. But it has been a process of change and change and change until that night when I was listening to Earl Nightingale. And I was like, enough is enough. And I went on into my filming and photography and sound, my media life business, and eventually I kept on reading and learning. And even yesterday I was just reading this book, the Laws of Nature, the Human Laws of Nature by Robert Greene. Every day learning and learning. And that day, my first step into freedom happened. I started living in a van, and I went on a photography tour for 6 months straight, just picking up jobs and learning and picking up more jobs and learning, sleeping in rest areas and all that. And that night I can say I was reading a book like this. It was this small. That book by Earl Nightingale, it's almost 30 pages. And the reason I'm telling you this is because now I have almost the same book written by me, From Good to Great. And actually, you can feel some Earl Nightingale in this book, some Napoleon Hill. You can feel some Joe Dispenza in this book. You can feel a lot of people in this book. Basically, the reason why it's 28 pages is because I did not fill it up with a lot of unnecessary information. I just went into it and giving you the wisdom of, this book, of how I got here today, totally independent of anyone's job. I have my own clients. I choose my clients. And I'm not boasting. I'm just stating the fact that I have the freedom I needed Well, not completely. Down the road, we want more freedom to even travel and travel while we do what we love to do. So the freedom begins, yes, but it never stops growing because we are not really free. By the way, we can say we have freedom. I have freedom, but then it doesn't mean that I don't work. It means that I actually work harder than when I used to be when I was employed. When you're a business person, you end up working hard, especially if it's a small business whereby you're everything. But the book here is From Good to Great. That's the name of the book. And I'll just maybe say one or two things about it, or a page, read some things. And here, when you open page 2 of this book, it says that it all starts with your thought. I mean, when you go to page 2 of this book, it has a little topic saying it all starts with thought. And I quote, there's a quote here that I wrote: without a firm idea of himself and the purpose of his life, man cannot live and will sooner destroy himself rather than remain on earth, even if he was surrounded with bread. That's a Russian novelist, Fyodor Dostoevsky. By this I mean, if a man does not know his purpose, he eventually can actually destroy himself. Have you ever had a friend or someone you know that maybe is actually a graduate in college, has a good job and making good money, has maybe a wife and 2 kids, and then eventually he destroys it all because he finds other women and starts sleeping with them, and eventually his wife finds out and all goes wrong. The wife divorces him, he gets into child support, he has to move from his nice house and ends up back with the roommates because he cannot even afford living in 2 places at the same time. He has to pay the bills for the family and he has to stay alone in somewhere else. And also at the same time, he ends up actually getting in more trouble and eventually getting depressed. The reason we have such people is because they have not known how to tap their potential. If a man finds what he wants to do on earth, if a man discovers his purpose, he becomes so busy. He has no time sometimes, even for the one wife. Balance becomes an issue of the past. Actually, the wife should support him so much, because if she does not, this man might disappear into his vision and end up losing on the other side. A man can totally destroy himself. If not, he will live a very mediocre life of just general living, having kids, having money. After the kids grow up, he retires and dies. And by purpose, what do I mean by purpose? Purpose actually means living this world in a better place, using your gifts. Purpose. This thing, purpose, sometimes confuses people. Let me give you an example. Say you own a restaurant and you make profit out of it. Your purpose is not to own a restaurant. Neither is your purpose to become so wealthy. The reason why we make money is to be able to sustain what our purpose is. If we make enough money, and it's good to make that money, we should make it to really make more impact out there. So money is a conduit. Money is a vessel to accelerate our movement into our destiny, basically to make our purpose work. So this book, that's just a little extract. Yeah, man can easily destroy himself if he does not know what he is on this earth for. Actually, they end up sometimes depressed. Have you seen men committing suicide? And it's because they feel like they're nothing. They have maybe a job and they get fired. They don't have a skill that they love, or if they have a skill, they invested in the wrong skill. And then this bad predicament, or they're in between a rock and a hard place because they never invested in the right place and in the right thing. And especially the ones who get in trouble later, it ends up being so much trouble, so hard to reverse to. So, my friends, I'm not forcing you to buy this book, but this book currently, it's selling on Amazon, and copies are bought every week. Every week there is a sale on this book. I can show you the documents, but no need to. It's called From Good to Great, Wisdom That Elevates You to Greatness. Who is a great man? A great man is not necessarily a wealthy man. A great man is not necessarily a politician. A great man is one who do small things in a great way and let them grow to become great things in a greater way. And a great man is a man who starts from home, a man who begins from his house. For example, if you have a family, if it's love, you have to love your family first before you go out there and love. Some people, actually some speakers out there, pastors too, they love their congregation and they're loved, but if you go back to their homes, they are fighting with their wives and kids every day because he has no time for them. No, you have to begin at home. Now, I got that idea from a book called The Science of Being Great. You have to start from home always. Always use what you have now to constructively move towards the future. Well, this is just a small portion of what is in this book, and the link is below. It's an Amazon link, but you can also buy the book on my website. My website is www.goodpeoplesocieties.com. www.goodpeoplesocieties.com. You'll also find our t-shirts there and other merchandise. So go to the website, or even easier, go to Amazon and purchase through Amazon and get a book. Within 2 days you have it if you have Prime. If you don't have Prime, within 5 days you have your copy. Get it to support my movement, my company, my cause, everything. And also, this program is also, of course, brought to you by TapTapSend. If you download the TapTap app to send money to Africa and use the code 254, use the code SAM254 to send the money on your first transaction. The money goes there. The money gets to your receiver with $20 extra. For example, if you send $1 to Kenya right now using my SAM254 code, that person will receive the money as $21. That's free money, guys. Free money. Yeah, I actually told my guy, hey, tell 5 people to send $1 each to a children's home in Kenya, in one number in a children's home. And 5 people did it. The person at home ended up receiving close to 30,000 shillings only by spending $5. So guys, do that for the people home, do that for me, because I get paid by these guys to pay the bills here. Well guys, thank you so much for listening, and this is just part 1 of my book extract, From Good to Great. May peace be with you guys.